Hey, what's up, everybody? This is DX Strike, and welcome to Game Fiends. I'm bringing you some news today from the Insomniac Games, and this is talking about pretty much Marvel Spider-Man 2 is possibly teased by the Insomniac Games. So, let's move on. Bring some news to you guys. Alright, so it says a developer at Insomniac Games has teased an unannounced game in development at Insomniac Games. Many are assuming it's Marvel Spider-Man 2 for the PS5. Sony and Insomniac Games have yet to announce Marvel Spider-Man 2, but we know it's been in some form of development since January 19th. If this is the case, it's likely not very far from releasing. And to this end, Alex Zanke, an advanced senior animator at Insomniac Games, recently used Twitter to tease that he hasn't been working on Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart rather since the completion of Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Zanke has been working on a redacted project. As you may know, Insomniac Games has two mainline teams. One of these teams is based in California and the other is in North Carolina. One of these two teams just put Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, but the other is currently working on an undisclosed project. That was Zanke is referring to is likely to be Marvel Spider-Man 2, as it is unclear what else it could be. Sony probably isn't going to revive Sunset Overdrive in a major way, and Resistance probably isn't coming back off of ice. The studio could be working on a big new IP, but you doubt that it would prioritize over Marvel Spider-Man 2, which actually makes sense, is because Sunset Overdrive has been out with anything else besides the first game for years. So I doubt this coming back. Resistance been dead for a long time, probably since after PS3. So yeah, and Spider-Man and definitely Ratchet and Clank is making them the big bucks, especially Spider-Man. So most likely it has to be Marvel Spider-Man 2. Alright, this is pretty much the Twitter post. It says, was it Zanke had post, and he said, and now it's time to rest, and then he put in parentheses, no rest, always make game. Then he retweeted with a guy said, Jonathan Dornbush. He says, AA, a little over 6 months into the life of PS5, Insomniac Games already given us Spider-Man Remastered, Miles Morales, and Ratchet and Clank PS5. And this is one of my favorite developers, consistently knocking it out of the park. It's so great to see, and we're just at the start of this generation. And then Alex says, for clarity, I did not work on Rift Apart. I worked on Miles Morales and then moved on Redacted. And it says Insomniac never sleeps. That's why it's the name, which is this dope, because Insomniacs can't sleep, whatever. So that's dope that he kind of fit that in there. I probably would did the same thing, to be honest. All right, so pretty much it's just pretty much just speculation. I actually been hearing rumors about the next Spider-Man game for a while now, even before this year. They've been pretty much, I've followed this Instagram that pretty much gives a whole bunch of Spider-Man news on which is movies and games, and this is before Miles Morales came out. None of us knew Miles Morales came out. Miles was like pretty much a surprise. Like, we kind of figured it was either going to come out, a game with him was going to come out eventually, but pretty much after Peter's story is done, or you get to play as Miles with Peter and the Peter Spider-Man game, whatever. But they just dropped it out of nowhere, because they obviously been working on that since they had completed with Spider-Man in 2018, whatever. So I've been seeing news on pretty much them supposed to be adding Brooklyn, Queens, and stuff like that, adding a bit more sections, since the system's more powerful to add those things now. And they've talked about the villains as far as like Venom, the Lizard. Now the Lizard's pretty much confirmed, since they showed, spoiler alert, since they showed Doc Connors at the end of Miles Morales, if you played the game and got to the end. So, and now like I said, I found out about the Lizard way before I even knew Miles existed as a game and was coming out, before anybody knew. So that kind of gets me a little hyped, is because it kind of sheds a light on those rumors and stuff like that. And it had some other villains in there. I think it said anti-venom, but I think that might be you could probably take that with a grain of salt, because we got to just get introduced into the first Venom first. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see if all this news is pretty much true. It actually would make sense for it to be Marvel Spider-Man 2? Do you want to get right on that right away? Because Marvel Spider-Man 2 had made them, pretty much the big bucks. Especially it make more sense after coming off the hype and the success of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So that will be my go-to too. So I can't wait, guys. So for more Marvel or superhero news, come to Game Fiends. I'm your guy, DX Strike. See you Game Fiends later.